What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, cloud swing traders? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Hope you guys had an incredible weekend. You guys are piling in the room early today. I love it. We got Albert in the house. Good morning to you. We got Anna, Andy. Good morning. We got Bill, Brian, Cindy, Corey, Jay, Jeff. Good morning to Kevin, Lauren, Miguel, Micus. We got Paul in the house. Paul, aka Paul's AI. Good to rock with some AI in here. We got Randy. Good morning to you, Tina. We got Wing. Good morning. All my people out at YouTube land. We got Clarice. We got Richard Jett. All my lurkers in that background that just don't feel like making any comments. That's okay. I still love you. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. So, uh, pretty fun little close to Friday. Markets did fairly well if you were kind of sitting in that bullish direction. Again, the spot we were talking about to hold up is still holding. So that's good. We also came back down. We retested into that candle. We created a higher low. We just broke out of that pivot. So now we have a new higher high. And we are looking like we're continuing. We're just at the very high end of Friday's range. We still obviously have 27 minutes till that morning bell rings. It looks like we're trying to get past that at this point. But I do have one little resistance, and that's going to come in at 510.33. I do have support from Friday, so we're back around this 509.04. Let's just see where we got to pre-market on this one. Uh, yeah, we came down to underneath that at some point. 508.21. Let's see what the close of Friday was. 508.25. So we actually came back down underneath that VPOC and retested really Friday's open. So we'll see. We will see. But if we can break past again somewhere around the 510.39, the next spot to kind of hold us is probably about 512.81. So that's still a decent move. And really, I don't have any of my actual current levels until about 514.08. So that could push us in a little bit of a decent move. The other thing we could do to the SPY too, just to see if this is more of just a pullback, like, or this is more of a pullback from the kind of decent downtrend that we just had like last week, 2 weeks ago, I guess. Would be to do a Fibonacci on that last down move. So we got to try to get through that 618 for more of a confirmed rally, as opposed to just some of the shorts coming in and taking their gains. Yep. So the 618 we still have. We are above the 50% retracement, but looking at the 618, that's right around 513. Like I said, I have I think 514.17, 514.16, something like that would be the next little VPOC, and that would take us right into that 618. So I don't know if the Bears are out of the water yet. Obviously, we got a ton of earnings. We've had some come out this morning already too. And then I believe I think we get Jerome Powell on Wednesday. I believe he's on Wednesday. I'm not sure if we get CPI on Wednesday or not, because I feel like we just had it, but this market, I mean, we're almost somehow into May. All right. We're almost to the halfway of the year mark. We got like another month or two to go, which is wild. But Qs, same thing, nice little gap up. So everything's still kind of running in the long direction, the long and strong direction so far for the Qs. Let's do that same little Fibonacci over here. Again, if we can get at least one of them above that 618 and to close above that 618, that might give us some momentum in the other one too. Here we are above the 50% retracement. The 618 comes in at 435.61. So that's the zone I'll be watching for. And then we do have some volume zones that were not retested. A little bit higher, 437.76. So somewhere in that range. We're going to need some closing above it. Maybe it happens today. It's possible. It's possible. We shall see. Support 431.35. I've got another support prior to that, or that we should retest first, but that's 431.75. What's up, Matthew? And then the next spot, resistance, 433.75. So we might see a little chop at open. Most of these are retest gaps, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get some kind of pullback at open. The only thing is we've kind of done that pre-market. So we already kind of pulled back pre-market. I'm wondering if that was enough, and then this one could just carry it home a little bit, but still would like to see a little bit of chop, little indecision out of the gate would be fantastic. Jenny's in the house. What's up, Jenny? Real virtual demand. Good morning to you too. All right. If you guys have tickers, let me know. There's definitely a couple, and I know I'm gonna get one. It starts with a T, so we'll cover that one too. Lou's in the house. What's up, Lou? You guys don't know, I'm gonna be on vacation with Lou soon. Going on a cruise. We got TLT, so that is gapping up. I can't wait. Yeah, no, that was crazy. I was like, yeah, I'm going on a cruise in like July. He's like, yeah, what date? Because I'm going too. Not because I was going, because he was already going. He was already going. He's doing his thing. But yeah, it turns out we're on the same boat, same time, same everything. So that's gonna be fun. We got TLT with a gap up into resistance, but at least again, gap up on TLT is a lot better than a gap down. We did get to the bonds. We got in a little scary. I think the 2-year was at 5%. So we have some of the bond moves, and I think we have a few bond auctions this week. We might want to keep our eye on too, just to see. Obviously, there's been some instability. We had FRC on Friday, and I love when they do this, but not that FRC was a complete surprise, but it was already delisted from the stock exchange, except the bank actually failed technically over the weekend, and they sold off some of the assets. So we've actually had a bank failure this weekend, and just nobody wants to talk about that one. So we'll just, don't worry about that. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. All right, let's go into Tesla. Then I got power on the list too. Tesla, just a major move after hour, not after hours, but pre-market, coming in with some news from China that they are going to sell some FSD in the China markets. So again, earnings not great. You're paying about 50 times earnings for Tesla, so as a car company, not cheap. But the question is, where's the other revenue streams, and is that from the cyborg people, the cyborg robot, RoboCop, walking around solving crimes, doing what he does? Is it from FSD, which they've lowered pricing on? But okay, I think they got a billion miles driven on their FSD, so that's not bad. And that's a subscription model, which people love. It's easy to calculate the subscription models on things, so we'll see what happens on that. But beautiful gap up. Big resistance, probably 203.35 would probably be the bigger one. So we'll see if we can get up there. Otherwise, probably another little resistance spot somewhere around 201.39. And if we can start breaking that pivot, do we have a gap? We might have a little gap, not completely filled, very close to it though. And then we got, I think, a ton of gaps up here somewhere. Unless these ones all got filled before. Yeah, I don't really see much. But into a moving average pre-market, otherwise really, really good gap. I could only imagine we're probably trapping some bears at open. So especially underneath this pivot, that should have been your resistance. That should be the support at this point. Which is where we were about an hour ago, 181.73, and since then we've just absolutely blown that one out of the water. So look for support somewhere around 181.73, maybe a tad resistance at open, but I think any of those bears that we're getting in here for the last, this is gap down since March 5th. So it's about 2 months of bears being trapped, and they were really sitting on the winning side of things. Could this be capitulation down here? It's not enough volume, I don't think. But again, the earnings weren't great. Elon Musk did a great job being the Tesla cheerleader, so can't be mad at that. And I think we do have a lot of bears at this point trapped. I'm looking at the volume area. So yeah, again over here, 194, 193. For today's range, we'll have to see, but we might be running into a little bit of resistance and maybe want some profit taking. But I wouldn't mind trying to buy the dip on this one if it comes in. Approval in China to partner with, yep, they're partnering with Baidu. Robo-taxi, yep, that's the other potential revenue stream that people are looking at. And in a similar way to Nvidia, not that Tesla's Nvidia by really any stretch of the imagination, but the PE on Nvidia was insane. Right? It was crazy. and I was like, no, I have to wait. I can't, and it's okay if it runs. That's fine with me. I didn't think it was going to run to 800, but the numbers on the report started coming in, the revenues started coming in, and that starts to close that gap up to make the Nvidia a little bit more reasonable. So, can Tesla at this point? Probably not, but the bigger problem is expectations. If people have expectations that Tesla's going to do something fun, or can get to make those little PEs a little bit better, then yeah, that would look good. Paramount Global, nice little gap up too. Um, they do have earnings coming in tonight. Be careful of that one. Uh, Paramount shareholders, Ellison Redstone reportedly seek to appease investors. Well, that's nice. And CEO is leaving, so they have some CEO leaving, and they would like to appease the shareholders. Okay. Okay. Otherwise, good double bottom. Even from back here, holding a decent support from around 1052. It's a stock you're not buying at all-time highs. If you want to try it into earnings, you have a nice one back there too. So even a much, much longer term kind of support that we were getting this little bounce off of. So that's decent. Obviously, going into earnings ever is a gamble. So know your size. But I don't know if we get up here. I can't imagine from the earnings. Does Para have a short float on this thing? Let's see. Would be especially if it dips down, maybe an opportunity for taking out some calls just in case. Then they got a 12.27% short float, so that could help in a bullish direction too if they get some kind of good news, and it sounds like they're trying to lean that way. But earnings is going to have a lot to do with it. Otherwise, you do have a good long-term support. Pre-market's 12.63. Probably stop should be somewhere around $10, so it gives you about $2.63. You need about $5.20 from here. So for 2 hours, that would take you to might be a little much for 2 hours with that stop. So let's see if it pulls back a little bit at open. Otherwise, probably a relatively low bar that it's got to beat. And we've seen the low bars. We've seen the low bars with Snapchat, Tesla, just absolutely get taken out and start to run. So this one could be a fun one. Day trade wise for today might be tough, but could be a fun little earnings play. So we'll keep that on the list. You can also look to sell puts, things like that too, if you do like it. Baidu trapping a bunch of bears too. Yep, Baidu as well. Baidu is going to still have a much stronger China story than Tesla, though. And we've seen the head fakes from Baba and Baidu before. I'm sure Lyft and Uber are thrilled. Yeah, no, they got to be excited. In a weird way, though, that's not bad for them. What's to stop? I mean, if Tesla could come out with the robo-taxi, it's successful. What's to stop Uber and Lyft from just partnering with Tesla? They don't need the drivers anymore. They already have the app and infrastructure already in place. Now you don't need the drivers? That's how much more money you're gonna make as Uber or Lyft. I don't think, yeah, I don't really think that's a bad thing for Uber or Lyft. Because it's not like Uber owns their own cars already. And now they just save on actual drivers. And if it's a Tesla gas as well. All right, we got Apple. They have earnings, is it tomorrow, I think? All right, so they got earnings Thursday after the bell. They are gapping up. Let's see. I think they got an upgrade actually. Let's see though. Upgrade operating systems for iPads is now designed as I believe they also it might be a little bit might be next week, I'm not sure, but I think they have an Apple event coming out too. Commissioner said he found that Apple's iPad OS constitutes an important gateway for business users to reach end users. So Apple would be another one I think coming into this market with coming into earnings with a low bar as well. Interesting gap. It would be a gap and go. Probably want to stay bullish. I don't know if we're going to break this 174.76. That would be my first resistance. The one above that takes me to about 175.22. Cruising where? I'm not sure where I forget that one island. I know we're doing the Florida. We're doing private island that the cruise ship owns, and then I want to say Bermuda, Bahamas, one of those two. But yeah, you can tell how much I've done the booking on my end. Hmm. I was just told show up at this date, and I'm like, okay, where are we going? What are we doing? But yep. It's Apple. We got SoFi reported earnings today, which was pretty good earnings. I do have some call options longer term, 2026 on this, which I'm still holding, but earnings were fairly good. They do have a great history, like fantastic history of moving up higher on earnings and then just selling completely off. So I think we're in that stage of it. Uh, Resistance on this one, probably about $7.49. Maybe we get to like 754, which would be interesting as a resistance. But until we really get past this 758 zone, 760, especially after earnings just came out and they're doing exactly what they've done before, I probably wouldn't add or day trade them. It might be a little tough to day trade too, but otherwise, earnings were not horrible. I don't have them updated here yet on TradingView, but pretty decent. I think they came in higher than expected on revenue at least. And then the conference call happened. I didn't pay attention to the conference call, so no idea what happened on that one yet. But I'll find out probably a little bit later after we're done trading today. We'll see what happens. Amazon, good gap up here too. Can Amazon? This is another one I think with earnings coming out the next day. Yep. We got tomorrow after the bell, so they have a gap up here. Also a little retest gap. Support, the first support on this one should be about 181.30. Pretty good resistance above us, 183.76. I don't know how they're looking a little bit more like the Netflix type setup where the bar is not extremely low for them. And that could give us a little bit of trouble on Amazon after the earnings. We'll see what happens. But they probably have to just absolutely crush earnings. Sympathy play, Shopify was moving as well with Amazon too. So you got Shop. Let's take off these. Shopify is gapping up as well. They also have a little bit of a double bottom, which I like, off the 200. So that's not bad, but you do also have resistance on this one. Somewhere around 74.44. And if we could break through that, we're probably back to like the 76.74. But I've been watching this one just to kind of see if we get some follow through momentum. Otherwise, this is almost opening at resistance with support below us. So I think shop fades. Maybe that brings down Amazon as well. We'll see. All right. We got Bitcoin, BTC, USD. Yeah, crypto hasn't really been looking too great recently. Now we're at 62,544 on Bitcoin. Probably looking for about 62,100 as a first level of support. We already got the bounce off there, so if we get back down to that zone, I think that's going to be a little bit easier to break. And then we're probably looking at 61,216. Maybe as some kind of support. For a positive side of things, we could go with the Fibonacci on this one. It looks like we're trying to hold that 618, so it would be definitely an interesting spot for the Bulls to want to break out. But here's a little bit of a pivot. So I would say until we start breaking the 64,462, unless you're just trying to buy low, maybe have some stops down at like 59.6. Could get you some decent risk reward if this is just more of a actual balance and pullback. This is also kind of what I'm seeing in the SPY too. This is what I'm a little afraid of in the SPY. This is us now. and Bitcoin is just a little ahead of us on SPY, and we get that big kind of major pullback. But right now it's kind of hanging into the iffy zone, 618. Interesting spot for the bulls who want to jump in here. Definitely have some stops on it, but I think next little support should be about 61 235 if it breaks down from here. So we'll see if that one wants to move. Santilla says Tesla, Apple, huge up in calls. Yeah, both of them should be good. Tesla, especially. The Apple one, you might have to be a little more focused on just because they do have earnings on Thursday. But again, if they if they look good, if the Vision Pro thing makes sense and they're actually getting some revenue off of it, then I think that would help because I don't think right now people are pricing in anything on that due to I think a lot of headaches and people say it's bulky and I don't know. I don't know. Win says I could see Elon buying Uber or Lyft in the future. If he does, it will be far, far, far in the future. Because he just tied up a lot of money on Twitter, like a lot of money on Twitter. And he had to sell some shares of ExxonMobil. He had to do some partnerships with some banks to get some additional funding to get that approved. I really don't think he wants to go through that again. The problem with like we said before, I don't think the robotaxi is bad for Uber or Lyft. I don't think so. I think that would benefit them. Where they could get absolutely murdered is if, and I don't put this past Elon, is to just bypass Uber and Lyft and just say we're doing our own like Uber thing with our own robo taxis and we keep all the revenue. But I don't know if that's the business that he wants to get into. And again, Uber already has the app; it's already got the brand name. It would make more sense, I think, and way more cost effective for Elon to just partner with Uber, partner with Lyft, even maybe a third party smaller company if he wants to. I think I would go with Uber if anything, if not both. It depends on who wants to play ball, but first of all, we need RoboTaxi to come out, and I don't think Elon wants to spend the money again for another company, which he disagreed with Twitter, so he was a little bit more like I'd rather just buy it myself because I don't like the way you guys are running it. I don't think that's the same case with Uber. I would say it would be less risky. So Miguel says less risks for Tesla if he goes through than I assume. It would be less risky. Plus, Uber would have to still they'd still have to pay for the full self driving feature. So now they're collecting all the money working with them without doing anything else, and maybe they could get a little extra. Plus, I think Uber will not mind it because then they just have more profit to lock in. So instead of paying however much an Uber driver makes a year, if self-driving is $10,000 a year, you're still saving a lot of money by going that route. So I think that would be something interesting, and I think that's the pricing model for Tesla too. I think that's why we're getting a little excited with the FSD. And Elon said it's gonna be ready by the end of this year, so we'll see how it develops and plays out. But um, he doesn't have to license it only to electric vehicles. He can license it to anybody, right? And now it's a whole different. He could license it to Ford if it's that good. Even Ford, it would make sense for them to just go through Elon for it, whether they want to or not. That's a whole different thing. But to rebuild out the whole system, it does cost some pretty pennies. So we'll see. We will see. Uh, Real Virtual Demand says he'll probably end up buying everything. I don't know. I don't know. You guys are just like, I mean, he's got some money. Don't get me wrong, but that's a lot of stuff he's got to buy. You guys are just like Elon wants to spend money. I don't know. I haven't seen that from Elon. I think he takes some crazy risks, but so far they've all kind of paid out. DraftKings, a little bit of a gap up on this one. Also, right into resistance. We might have a little bit. We might be right above that resistance, which makes next target probably 44.27. We do got the NBA playoffs going on too, so could be some little bit of excitement maybe for DraftKings. We got PayPal. Really strong day on PayPal on Friday. Here's my downtrends. Let's try this out real quick. I think they have earnings coming out soon too, and they could easily do a SoFi. Wouldn't put it past them. Gap up, and they did it last time. But I'm watching this 67.50 zone. If we can get past that, next target I got is about $77. So we'll see. Otherwise, we broke this little consolidation flag. Probably could get. We probably don't really go crazy until earnings if we're going to, but that's Tuesday morning. So that's tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, we got PayPal. The run up, the bullishness into earnings for mostly every company has been a pretty good play. So maybe we do continue that bullish trend. Look for resistance on this one to about 66.93 for today. If we get a little bit higher than that, 67.18. But for after earnings, I'm looking really for anything above 67.50. And then I don't really see much in the way on this one until probably about $77. So I do have some calls for January for this one. And if we get any kind of crazy move, I'll probably be looking to sell some of those calls, lock some more gains. I'm already up a pretty decent amount so far on them, but probably sell a couple of them. And then since I have a lot of time, see if we could crush a little bit higher, maybe into like 86, 87, $90, and those things would be up a heck of a lot, but we'll see what happens. We need a big runway for that. But we got some time on them, so we're good. All right, Square. I'm just running through the list. I got 2 more minutes left, so if you guys see anything interesting, but I think we covered all that you guys threw out there so far. We got Square kind of just chopping a little bit, nothing too crazy. CRM just been consolidating flat. Microsoft. So Microsoft, the entire market did pretty good. Microsoft also did good, but it was all from the gap. All that earnings gap. That one looks like it's kind of continuing down. This one probably gets bought up pretty close to open, 406.34, I would assume. First target would be about 407.27. I might look to play this one. We're gonna have this wide open gap. That might actually be a little tougher to fill than I think. 401.69 though would be the support probably coming into Microsoft. Did we do Google? No, we did not. GOOGL. Yeah, it's still up a lot. We're opening a gap fill. I think it has to pull back a little bit more. I'm still bullish. I still own shares. But at some point in time, I do think we probably come back down to the 158.43. I don't face it at open. This is a little bit of a retest, but we are breaking down some of the where the bulls did step in on Friday. So we'll see if that one wants to hold, and then probably get somewhere at least halfway through this gap. But that is the opening bell. So everybody on YouTube land, appreciate you guys joining us. But unfortunately, I got to disconnect